Welcome back, Hornets. We are here for another episode of sentence structure. Yay, Ready Language Handbook. Woohoo. But this time we're dealing with just instead of phrases and clauses by themselves, we're going to break it down into adjective phrases and clauses. And in a couple of days, we'll look at adverb phrases and clauses. But today, just adjectives. And we're going to keep it even sorted in that and just talk about adjective phrases. And tomorrow, we'll get into adjective clauses. So I'm going to put some source book notes on the screen for us to write down, and I'm going to talk about them while you write. So let's see. The very first thing that you need to make sure you've got, this is a new source book entry on sentence structure dealing with adjective phrases. Tomorrow you can add adjective clauses to this. So at any time I get ahead of you, pause me, and that way you don't have to worry about me going too fast. So your sourcebook entry is sentence structure adjective phrases. Some phrases and clauses function like adjectives, modifying a noun or a pronoun in a sentence. Remember, modifying is a fancy word for changing. So when we take like Miss Murray has hair. Now the word hair, we want to modify, we want to change it. We can say Miss Murray has long hair. We can even add to that and say Miss Murray has long red hair. And both long and red modify and change just the word hair. So with that being said, an adjective phrase does the same thing, except that it does it in multiple words, and it normally answers the question, which one, what kind, or how many. And a lot of times, helpful hint, guys, adjective phrases look like prepositional phrases. All right, not every prepositional phrase is an adjective phrase, but it's a good place to start when you're unsure. And the example that's going to even come from your Ready Workbook, which we're going to get to in a second, is that my uncle from Chile is my mother's little brother. Well, I always got to find my subject, and that's uncle, and my verb is. Okay, so now I've got to try to find my phrase, and I know I'm looking, and I always want to make sure I bracket off or parentheses off my prepositional phrases, and I've got from Chile is a prepositional phrase. My is a possessive pronoun describing whose uncle it is. My right there is a possessive pronoun describing whose mother. Mother right here is also describing, it's a possessive describing brother. Little is an adjective also describing brother. Okay, so I've pretty much got my sentence broken down into pieces. And I can see that the only phrase I have is from Chile. And it is actually an adjective phrase describing which uncle, because we get to learn where he's from. So now, at this point, I'm going to move on to our workbook. And if you didn't get all this, then you can pause me and you can keep going. So I'm going to open up our workbook to page 233. And at the very first thing I'm going to do, once I get to a new workbook page, I'm going to notice that it's got a new title, and it is Adjective Phrases and Clauses. And at the top of this, I'm going to rewrite adjective, and I'm writing with the mouse, so please forgive me. Adjective phrases. I'm only going to write adjective phrases today because that's all I'm going to focus on. Tomorrow, when I get into clauses, I will write adjective clauses at the top to go along with it. All right. So if you notice, it's the same as last week. We still are working with the exact same standard. It is our Mississippi Common Core Readiness Standards, language standard number 7.1. We're explaining the function of phrases and clauses in general and their function in specific sentences. So with that being said, we've got to remember that a phrase and clause is a group of words that give specific information of a sentence. Clause has both a subject and a predicate, but a phrase may have only one or the other, but not both. Okay, it does not have both a subject and a phrase. A subject and a predicate or a verb. So some phrases and clauses function like adjectives. They modify nouns or pronouns in a sentence. So an adjective phrase tells which one, what kind, or how many. We already wrote that down in our source book, and I just want to make sure we're emphasizing, we're reiterating that that's what it does. It tells me which kind, which one, or excuse me, what kind, which one, or how many. So here's our example sentence again. My uncle from Chile is my mother's little brother. Well, from Chile tells me which uncle. All right, so we're going to do some practice real quick. So with this practice, we're going to look at a grammar worksheet from our grammar workbook, and numbers 1 through 5 you have down here at the bottom are going to be in a Google form for you to answer questions on. But before we get there, I want to go over these notes that are also going to be on that Google form to help remind you what you're looking for. Once again, an adjective phrase is a prepositional phrase that modifies a noun or pronoun by telling what kind, which one, or how many. We didn't have that on here. And as I apologize once again, I'm writing with a mouse. So right here on this side, I have sentences, 2 sentences that are just using adjectives. I've got Richard wore a striped tie, and I have a red-faced policeman directed traffic. My subject is Richard. What did he do? What did he wear? A striped what? What kind of tie? A striped tie. I have a red-faced policeman directed traffic. Well, I have somebody did something. Directed is my verb. Who directed the traffic? Well, it's the policeman. Well, what kind of policeman? He was a red-faced policeman. Okay, so now I'm going to jump to the other side that is going over adjective phrases. It's using the exact same sentence with the exact same scenarios, but this time we're going to turn that single word adjective into a phrase. So I've still got Richard. I still got that he wore something. I have a subject and a verb, and he wore a tie with stripes. Well, with stripes is a prepositional phrase, and it's describing what kind of tie. I still have my policeman. He still directed traffic, but this time I have a prepositional phrase that says with a red face. It is still telling me which policeman. It is just doing it using a phrase instead of a single word. Down here at the bottom for our example, I've got the house on the corner was deserted. I'm going to underline house because it is my subject. I'm going to say was, underline it twice because that's my verb. Now, which house? Well, I'm going to put this parentheses around on the corner to let me know. Well, which house? Which one? Well, it's the one on the corner, so it's describing house. Now, as you're going to go through for your Google form exercise, part A is going to ask you to identify the adjective phrase in those multiple choice questions. Part B is going to ask you what word that phrase is modifying. And I want to make sure I want to go over a couple of things, and we're going to find our subject and our verb in each sentence. So I've got number 1, Dad made a pitcher of orange juice. My subject is Dad. What did Dad do? He made something. Number 2, have you read Aesop's fable about the fox and the grapes? My subject for this is you. What have you done? It's asking if you have read something. Number 3 says a thing of beauty is a joy forever. My subject is the thing, and it's a thing, and it is. That is my verb. Lots of linking verbs today instead of action verbs. Number 4 says, I wrote an essay about my summer vacation. My subject is I. My verb is going to be wrote because what did I do? Now, your sentence on your form is going to say, I wrote an essay about my Mardi Gras vacation because that's what we're about to have. Number 5 says, The Belle of Amherst is a play about Emily Dickinson. It's not going to let me keep writing. The Belle of Amherst is a play about Emily Dickinson. The Belle of Amherst is my subject, and is my verb. So with that, I'm going to let you finish and go through and identify the adjective phrase. Make sure you look for a prepositional phrase. And then also what it's modifying. Which is it answering the question, which one or what kind? And I hope that helps. So that way I can see what we need to work on for tomorrow. All right. Thanks, guys.